Welcome to We Are Society, a new show on YSTV where we talk about everything creative with the creatives themselves. Today we have Freddie Russell on with us, who is the Vice President and co-head of stand-up of Comedy Sock.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we're just going to talk a little bit about comedy.
Great.
Comedy Sock, comedy
Yes.
world.
Yes,
the
world of comedy.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Comedy Sock in general, your role on Comedy Sock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have two roles. So I'll cover vice chair first. That's just sort of you help the chair do stuff. I just do whatever Tegan tells me.
What about the table? Sorry.
What about the table?
What about the table?
How? I'm confused.
What do you mean? You said you helped the chair. So I said, what about the table? That was a really bad joke. Is that
See,
good
you're
enough for
starting already with the jokes.
I'm trying. This is my audition, actually.
Yeah, you're trying to impress me.
Anyway, go on.
Makes sense. But yeah, so I help Tegan do whatever she needs, but I also have a well-being role. So if people have any like well-being concerns, you know, like let's say that they're in a workshop and like there's a joke that kind of doesn't sit right with them, then they come to me and we deal with it. Or we pass it on to you or whatever. We go through the appropriate channels.
Nice.
And then I'm also co-head of stand-up, which means that we lead workshops every week that are free, open to everybody, open to like all levels of experience.
Yeah.
We give presentations, we give feedback on people's material. We do like fun warm-up games and stuff. Yeah, it's basically just teaching people how to do stand-up.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I do love it.
It does. It always seems a lot of fun. There's a lot of roles you got there, actually. You're covering a lot of bases.
I'm a bit. I did work it out in first year. I totted up the hours, and I realised that I had spent roughly double the amount of time on Comedy Sock to my actual degree in first year, which has not continued this year because that would be
first year though.
Exactly.
That's the time to do that.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Also, back then I was secretary, which means that most of my day was writing Comedy Sock emails.
Oh yeah, you used to love emails.
Oh boy,
hella emails.
Yeah.
You're not in emails anymore.
No, I don't miss it particularly.
No.
I enjoyed it while I had it, but it was a lot of time commitment.
But did you have to like make them funny? Was it like a funny email thing, or was it just like here's what's going on?
So there was two sides to it. There was like I'd run like the actual email account where we'd communicate with like venues and any that's all business stuff, right? It's all serious business. But we also had the weekly newsletter, which I had to plug a bunch of stuff, but also like you do want to make it funny and interesting and engaging to read. So I did put a lot of effort into like into the writing of it.
That's quite fun. Well, you mean you do English, so that's what it's for.
Oh, I do. Yeah, my
degree
degree was really degreeing.
The degree was taken a little sideline, but
but it was present though.
It was exactly. You should have just submitted that as your essay.
Simply in ways
like
that my
first
lecture.
immediately.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about how you got into comedy. When did you realise it was kind of like important to you stuff?
So the first ever stand-up set that I watched, or the first stand-up I have a memory of is watching Milton Jones with my dad on Live at the Apollo, who is a wonderful comedian. He was doing this joke where he was talking about he's doing a whole set and he would introduce each joke with my other grandfather, and he did it about 10 times. So he had 10 granddads, and I remember being like 9 and thinking this is actually brilliant. He was wearing a Hawaiian shirt. He had crazy hair.
That's why you only wear Hawaiian shirts.
Honestly, Milton Jones has a lot of subconscious influence in my life. Yeah, he does.
Fashion statement.
He does, yeah.
Well, that's amazing. You were quite young then when you...
Yeah. I mean, that's not like... That was when I sort of,
realised it was cool.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's cool. This is interesting. I developed sort of like the desire to do it. So it was sort of in lockdown-ish.
Oh, nice.
I would say. I started writing poetry towards the end of high school. Yeah. And then I stopped wanting to talk about my personal life. Yeah. So I wrote some funny poems. Right. And I was like, oh.
I like that it's come from poetry.
It did, yeah. Well, poetry was the first like properly creative, like at least with words. I played music and stuff. Yeah. But that was the first sort of like writing that I had done. So I don't know. It just sort of
Yeah.
was sort of born from that. I started watching.
That's a funny little
watching more.
pipeline because
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, it makes sense because like the way you have to construct poetry is like, I guess it's similar to like doing a sketch.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, not sketch, like a stand-up
it's-
thing.
Yeah, it's very rhythmic stand up.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people don't really conceptualize it that way, but I think it's so important because, it's sort of. I mean, it reminds me of sort of. There's an Aaron Sorkin quote where he talks about like going to the theater as a kid and hearing the dialogue and it sounding like music to him, and that's why his dialogue always has like a sort of. It has a rhythmic quality. It has a snap to it, and that's I think something that a lot more comics.
It does
should
make
try and
sense because like
infuse.
obviously you need the time in. The comedic time in is like such a massive thing. So
Yeah.
it's like if you're doing that, it's a similar thing to like poetry. Like to get the right things to land in whatever way, it needs to be like correctly timed.
It goes both ways. It can ruin a good joke or elevate a bad joke.
Yeah.
Delivery and timing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So how do you think like Comedy Socks kind of helped you like grow as a comedian? Like be like, I mean, I'm assuming it's helped your confidence a lot.
Oh,
because there's a lot of shows that you can get involved with.
Yeah. I mean, helped me grow is almost like a misnomer because I hadn't done any stand up
that's
before.
Kinda crazy.
It is insane. It's crazy to think about. But everything I have is because of because of Comedy Sock. Not that I have like
No, but you've
wealth and
definitely-
riches and fame. But
well, that's to come. You know,
yeah,
it's
of
on the
course.
way.
Yeah. But everything that I've done in comedy, I've gotten directly through them through that start. Yeah, it's just been it's brilliant. I love it. With all
I
my
mean,
heart.
like you were in like one of the first like fresher shows. I remember.
Yeah. I was in a show in. I think it was
It was like
either
October.
week 3 or week 4.
That's
of
insane.
First term. I
Yeah,
did my first
definitely,
stand-up set. It was. I was very, very nervous, and
Yeah.
I realized afterwards that I don't know if I've told you this actually. I realized afterwards that my fly was down the whole time.
That's so
The whole
funny.
time. I was wearing these jeans actually.
Oh my
I
God.
genuinely was.
Are they down now? Is it a repeat offence?
I hope not, but
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least you didn't notice. If you notice halfway through,
yeah, exactly.
Imagine that.
The thing is, if you don't notice something, then you can convince the audience that it's not there.
Exactly. You could have also just made it a part of the thing. if you
Yeah.
didn't notice.
Easily. Yeah. But I genuinely was
Did
not
anybody
aware.
bring it up to you?
No.
Oh, thank God.
Nobody has done ever. So it's good that,
I like that,
they
though.
didn't notice, but it was a good moment.
It is impressive that you did that so early on. And I think with comedy, it's kind of, it just baffles me because it's so different from every other kind of performance. I've literally said this to you so many times, but like,
Yeah.
it's just, if it doesn't land, if the audience isn't like responding to what you're saying, that's such a personal attack because you've written that. It's
Yeah.
your humor. It's
Yes.
like, that's so much more personality goes into it than
Yeah.
like anything else, like music or
Yeah.
like acting. I mean, acting's not even, I mean, it's a different kind of thing. Obviously, it's
different.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm just like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And just hope that people find you funny.
Yeah, a lot of it is hope. I'll
It's-
be
yeah.
honest. I mean, obviously, like there are steps that you can boil it down to a science almost. But I hear a lot from people. They're like, how do you do it? Like, how do you get the confidence to do it? And I think that what it is for me is you're right. Like when you say something and it doesn't get a laugh, you are like, oh God. But when you say something and people laugh, it is
That's true.
the best feeling in the world because it's all you.
Yeah.
Right? If you're acting in a scene and it gets really good reviews, the direction might be good, the lighting might have been good,
The lighting.
whatever.
Yeah.
In stand-up, it's just you on the stage. You write it and
Yeah.
you perform it.
The
So-
risk to reward ratio
exactly.
is
Yeah. So
pretty
when
good.
they laugh, you know it's only you, and when you fail, you know you only have yourself to blame, which
Yeah,
I
I
find
suppose.
easier actually.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I've done like doing improv and stuff.
Yeah.
When you do like a scene that doesn't quite work, I feel like there's an element of me that feels like I've let someone else down in the scene.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas I'm doing stand up, it doesn't go well. I'll go, oh well, I didn't do that well, that well. I could just do that better next time.
It's almost like a form of like overcoming like rejection anxiety.
Yeah.
So like just doing comedy so much, it's probably like training you
Oh,
to just
yeah.
be like,
Oh, it
it's-
has,
if someone doesn't
100%.
find it funny, it's fine.
100%. I think the biggest like experience that has formed that in me was doing the Fringe, because
Yeah.
we were literally doing a show.
Talk about Fringe. That's actually that's the thing, because the fact that you've been able to like go from October doing your first comedy
Not
thing
done
ever
anything
to go into Fringe in August,
which was less than 12 months later.
Whack. Actually, whack.
Yeah, it was insane. One of the best months of my life, though.
Yeah.
But it was one of the best months of my life. Also hell.
Yeah, crazy month.
It goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Is it Shambles that went to Fringe?
Yes.
So Shambles is the improv
troupe. Yes.
Right.
We also went with the Dead Ducks, which are our wonderful sketch troupe. But
so
I
fun.
was not a part of that.
Yeah.
I was shambling.
How does it work for someone who's not like a, no offense, not like
no,
a top
no.
like comedian,
Yeah,
that
of course.
your students, your society? How does it work at Fringe?
You mean like
how, like what
organizing it?
Yeah,
or,
like what are you doing? Like, because you were there for like the whole month doing things like most days.
We were, yeah.
So did you have your own shows? And
yeah,
stuff?
we did. Yeah, so
amazing.
we just we booked it with a venue.
Mm-hmm.
You need to. There's all these like associated costs you've got to pay, like like getting Fringe registration. Like it was basically a license fee that you have to pay them, and you have to book a venue, you have to book accommodation, all these just bunch of stuff. Yeah. But it is, you know, a lot of the time you can just ask venues and they do production stuff for us. Like obviously they have lights, so we don't need to bring equipment or anything. So from a production side of things, it's
all kind of covered. It's just you bring yourselves.
Yeah, we bring our like stuff and what we want to do. But yeah, so it's not as difficult as it may seem, because it wasn't just us. We were working with some very lovely venues.
How was like the turnout of stuff when you were there? Like, did people? Cause I'm guessing. So you did like shows. Did you do them like most days of August?
We did them. So Shambles were every day except for Sundays in the evening, and Dead Ducks were every day except for Mondays, I believe.
Wow.
They were in the afternoon, and we were in the evening. Yes. So turnout wise, it didn't start great. Last Fringe, we got a few people in. You know, it was like okay, whatever. And then I think about halfway through, it hit a really, really good point. We had 1 week where we were on a really, really good run.
That's good.
Like we had our peak. Weirdly enough, our peak was on a Monday, which is crazy because Mondays are really like usually quite dead at the Fringe. Because everybody's seen the Sunday shows. Yeah. And we got about like 40, mid 40 people, which for the capacity of the room that we were in was basically mostly full. Yeah. So yeah, it was great. Yeah.
That sounds like a really good experience as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're just like you're in the midst of it all, and then like I mean, it must be like you probably had some good people watching you as well.
Oh yeah.
Like looking for kind of.
Yeah, I have a story about that, which is not actually related to performing, but it is related to me flyering. So I was doing paid flyering.
Oh, nice.
To sort of earn a bit of money while I was in the Fringe, and I flyered someone for this show, and she stopped and she talked to me a bit about it. I was like selling it to her, and she went, "Oh, well, I think I will come along later then." And I was like, "Oh, that's good." It's nice when you get a conversation out of them, and it's not just they leave. And then the person whose show it was, who I was flyering for, was watching me from inside the venue. She came out, she spoke to me, she said, "Did you just flyer?" I can't remember the person's name, but did you just flyer insert person's name? And I went, "I don't know, did I?" And she went, "Yeah, that's the like head journalist of the Scotsman for Fringe." And she's also famously very grumpy. So
my God,
the fact that you managed to get a tune out of her is amazing. So I was like, "Whoa, mad." So yeah, that was fun.
That is fun. I bet. Yeah, you probably find that Fringe like it's just like a epicenter of like everyone you want to see in comedy.
Yeah, it is. I saw Richard Osman. I almost flyed Richard Osman.
That would have been such a flex.
Richard, if you're watching,
I'd love to fly.
Oh yes, he was walking down the street with his partner. I'm pretty sure. So I saw a person, but I didn't realize it was him. I got my fly, I did my usual spiel, and as I'm looking up, I was just like, oh no. And I just stopped mid sentence because I couldn't fly him, and I very politely went, "No, that's okay, no thanks."
My gosh.
And went because I think he was going to see a show.
Wait, so you had like an eye contact interaction?
Yeah.
Wow.
He said 2 words to me.
That's more than most. You know, that's still flex. You've done some other things though aside from Fringe that's in the comedy realm.
I've done stuff at the Stand back in Glasgow, which was
that's so good.
really fun. That's definitely the best stand-up gig that I have ever done. It was loads of fun. And I've got another date there soon. I'll be there
Fun.
April 25th, so that's good.
Oh, slay. Well, that's good that, like,
yeah.
I mean, how are you, like, is it just, like, networking?
Yeah, basically. That one is part of their Red Raw show, which is open mics designed for, sort of non-professionals and stuff. But you have
Yeah.
to sign up way in advance.
Right.
Because they are a very, very big venue and they get loads of submissions. But yeah, so I signed up and then I just got an email one day being like, you've got in, this is the date that we want you for. So yeah, went and did 5 minutes with them. That was great. But yeah, we've got something actually quite exciting coming up in terms of stand-up giggery.
Have you now? Go
Yes, we do. We've got the Chortle Student Comedy Awards. They are coming to York to do one of their heats with us, which I'll be in. Hopefully.
I like the name of that, Chortle.
Chortle, yeah.
Of all
it's a
of
good
like
name.
the laughing
Chortle's a good one,
like
isn't it?
synonyms, like
Yeah.
Chortle's it's pretty up there.
Yeah, chuckle, guffaw.
Yeah. I
yeah.
can't think of any right now.
Yeah. A hearty...
Hearty, a giggle, if you
a
will.
giggle, yes.
Have you got hearty?
I think a giggle is not
Giggle's
hearty by
more of
nature.
a
tee-hee.
chuckle. Chortle. Yeah. So, who do you have like an inspiration with comedy? Is it, like anybody a
Yes.
style of comedy or like someone in particular?
Yes.
That you find?
So I've gone through a lot of...
Go through phases.
I really
The
have.
eras.
I really have. So before I started comedy, I thought I was going to be this really like earnest, like down to earth comic who talked about my issues and stuff in a really funny,
Right,
good
sure.
way. And then I realized I hated it. I thought I was going to be a lot like Mike Birbiglia, who's one of my. I love him so much. He's one of my favorites, and I think his energy's rubbed off on me quite a bit because he's quite awkward and stuff. He's a bit like he's kind of like your dad, but like not specifically your dad.
How do you know my dad?
I mean, like in the general sense, he is a dad.
Yeah, like a dad
Yeah,
jokes.
who's
dad
like
vibe.
kind of seems like he's on a bit too much Xanax
Right,
a lot of the
sure.
time. Like he's just really awkwardly laid back. And he talks a lot about like just his personal issues and stuff. And I thought I was going to be like that. And then I realized it was so much more fun to go on stage and just lie.
Just make stuff up.
Just make it up.
I used to
Oh my
started doing that
God.
because I try and go to ones like your comedy sets,
Yeah.
obviously, because big
Yes.
fan.
Huge fan.
But I remember you started like quite like I'd say run of the mill comedy.
Oh yeah.
One time in like I don't know when was it? It was like second term last year.
Was it the Chipmunks?
The Chipmunks.
Ah, yes, that was the breakthrough.
Freddie just got on stage, and it was weird because I knew about the story of you losing your ID.
Yes.
And I did.
It's a real thing
vaguely-
that happens,
It
right?
was a real thing, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I know this. Then he starts this chipmunks talking Scottish. Alvin and the Chipmunks got involved with that.
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, "What is going on?" But let me tell you, it was so good. It was like
so
the best.
much-
It was just
it
so.
was
I was
much
so
fun.
confused.
That one was the breakthrough of
that
when
was the breakthrough, and then
when I realized I
never
could
looked
just
back.
be strange.
But like you start so convincing that it's real, and
Yeah.
then you're just like, "Hang on."
Yeah, actually, that's what I got. Someone said that to me the other day. Is that Freddie? You go on there and you just say things that are so strange, but
Yeah.
you say them with such seriousness that they seem real.
It's to the point, like by the end of it, like, was that real? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
It
do
could
get
have been.
people asking me how much was
that
real.
is the goal. If someone's
Yeah.
going to see them, be like, was there really chipmunks in the first bus office?
Yeah, are they in the 67? What's going on?
Chipmunks on the 67.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have to deal with any like hecklers at this level?
Hecklers.
Well, maybe not hecklers, but like general criticism.
Bad audience members.
Yeah,
or
stuff like that.
yeah.
Like, how does that happen? At
So
this?
not so much at like student
Yeah,
gigs,
yeah.
like on campus stuff.
Yeah,
I don't really
suppose-
think we've ever really had a heckler, unless it was like kind of sort of invited by the stand-up
Exactly.
a little
Well,
bit.
that's the thing. A lot of the audience on campus is like friends of and stuff.
Yeah.
That like heard about it and want to go see actual comedy. They don't want to go heckle.
Yeah. So I've never really experienced it on like in like a student gig.
Mm.
For outside gigs, I've it's not actually happened to me, but I've seen it happen.
Mm. Yeah.
And it's oh boy, it's not pleasant.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah, I do have like a couple of like prepped heckler
I was gonna
lines that
say,
I
have you
keep
got,
just in
like-
case.
Like
Just in
coping
case.
skills.
Yeah, basically. I mean, a lot of stand-up is realizing that something that seems so improvised and off the cuff is actually pre-prepared. And heckler lines are one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that basically every stand-up has stock ones that they just go to, unless their whole act is about like Jimmy Carr does it. I mean, I'm not particularly fond of Jimmy Carr, but
There's a whole heckler thing.
yeah, that's kind of what he's turned into. His brand is like roasting hecklers.
Yeah.
So I imagine he has like loads of
Lots in his
pre-prepared
back
ones, but most
pocket.
stand-ups just have a couple.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy though when that happens. It's just like a
Yeah.
bit, as like an audience member as well. Like that's just
Yeah,
so
it's a real-
uncomfortable. Like,
it's a
why are
real
you starting a fight
disconnect.
in the middle of a
Yeah,
comedy
I mean,
set?
it's why we tell people at the start of all our student shows that please don't heckle.
Yeah,
because
just-
also it's not cool.
Just don't do it. Like
You
you just look weird. Just-
Nobody's here to see you.
It's just exactly. It's such like an attention seeking. Like
Yeah.
didn't get enough attention
Yeah.
as a kid type beat.
Yeah. Only child sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you like, in terms of taking inspiration from, obviously there's so many comedians out there
Yes.
these
Oh,
days.
yeah.
And especially with like, not just TikTok, but a lot of like social media stuff.
Yeah.
Like I see a lot of just like comedians all the time.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, how do you continue to take inspiration without like plagiarizing and stuff? Because like that's another
Wow,
thing that's
that's
like
a good question.
people get like absolutely roasted,
Yeah.
ridiculed for like being like, no, someone else did that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Where's the
I
line?
think that what I tell the stand-ups in like I was doing a presentation sort of similar to this the other day about influence, and I basically just told them, if you see a stand-up joke on a subject and you think it's a really good subject, don't use it. Don't use it.
Fair.
Just don't talk about the subject, because even though you're technically not stealing the jokes, it's just like it's just not coming from you. There's no point in it.
Yeah, it's in
you
this.
know?
It's such a similar like ball part as well. It's kind of like when
Yeah.
you're like doing an essay and it's like,
Yeah.
has this been done before?
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
well, if you're starting to think, along
If
the
you're
same
starting to think that,
lines-
it's already too late.
exactly, and like it's in your subconscious as
Yeah.
well. I think it's a difficult thing with like creativity in general. Like if you've already seen something, it's subconsciously going to just sit there in your mind.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is I slip into cadences like of a particular comedians who I really like
Yeah.
Fern Brady. I just sort of stumble into how she says things sometimes.
Yeah, I notice that not just with you, but like with
Yeah.
people. It's like, oh, that reminds me of like this person.
Yeah.
Or like this, like one thing, like the way that they'll say something will be like
Yeah.
a similar way, which to be fair isn't
Yeah.
too bad. But if you're doing it all the time,
Yeah, I honestly think it comes from the fact that most student stand-ups that I've seen, their writing is like really good,
Yeah.
and they're quite funny people,
Yeah.
but delivery is the thing that most of them like struggle with. I think the biggest gap in stand-up exists in delivery between like people like us and professionals,
yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a hard thing to get right.
It is a little bit. How do you feel like the comedy world? This is a bit of a vague question.
The comedy world.
Where do you think it's like going? I don't
Where
know.
are we
Is there
going?
like are there trends in comedy that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, I would say so, definitely. Like something I noticed at this year's Fringe is that we're definitely starting to trend towards more comedy. Audiences expecting comedy to have more meaning than just comedy, and expecting more stand-up shows that are themed
Right.
and like sort of about something broadly and leave you with a message
Yeah.
at the end of it. Like even the silliest and most abstract of shows that I saw at this year's Fringe ended up having some sort of emotional like connection with the
Yeah.
audience, which I don't think is like, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just
It's just a thing.
different. It's
Yeah.
just different. That's not really how I particularly do things, but it's good that it's giving an opportunity to people
Yeah.
because it's something different. In terms of like just the comedy world and going, where is it going? What are we
Where
doing?
is it going?
Good or bad? I'd say it's mostly going well.
Yeah.
Because I think, but just politically, I think that comedy is like, it's generally a pretty accepting progressive space, or at least it's becoming that way.
Yeah. Do you think it has quite a big impact on? I mean, it does, but like,
Yeah.
do you think that that's like an important thing in comedy? Do you think that like?
Oh, definitely.
Because I think a lot of people would say like comedy's just comedy, like it's just like it's there for like light relief kind
Yeah.
of thing. But do you think it is important to integrate those kind of things into it?
Yeah, I definitely think so, and I think it's a really good way of doing it because there's a Stuart Lee quote I really like where he says that stand-up is a great Trojan horse. It's one of the best art forms, I think, for being something that is disguised as something else.
Sure.
And you can sort of layer a lot of things in. The excuse of it's just comedy.
I
When you're
think
not,
that's-
you're talking about something else entirely, really.
Definitely, because you can, it's like the subtlety of having that as like the face of it, but it being
Yeah.
like a lot more
Yeah.
under the surface.
It's also like you can do it on a micro level as well. That's one of
Yeah,
my favorite things to
exactly.
do with jokes is
Yeah.
jokes that appear to be about one thing but are actually
Yeah.
entirely about another.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What
Lots of
would you
innovation.
say has been like your favorite part about being in Comedy Sock?
My favorite part. My favorite like thing that I have done is definitely going to the Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite thing that I do like regularly is teaching. Is teaching
that.
in workshops. It's so because it develops. There's nothing for understanding something like having to teach it
Yeah.
and developing like sort of how to explain it. It's just made me formalize so much of like the sort of abstract thoughts that
Yeah.
I've had about stuff. It's made me put them into concrete terms and categorize them.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier once you do that.
Yeah.
Just because I think Stan's a lot more scientific than a lot of people
No,
realize.
but it kind of is though. It's kind of like
Yeah.
any form of teaching or like, I don't know, I feel like societies in general at uni, like obviously a lot of them student based.
Yeah.
So it's like there'll be someone that's kind of leading it, but like you're getting just as much out of it as
yeah.
the people that you're helping. And like,
Oh,
because,
God.
and then comedy's ever evolving.
Yeah.
So you're learning stuff from each other.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
a,
man.
it's a yeah, bro. No, it's a really great environment, and I couldn't be more grateful for it.
Yeah, it definitely is a great environment. Every show I've been to, it's always been like
It's a good atmosphere.
nice vibes. Like everyone's just like wanting everyone to have a good time. The whole point is for everyone to have a nice time.
Definitely.
And I think that's something so special about
Yeah,
that.
and also like from a creative standpoint, it's so good to have that atmosphere because stand-up's great for that because everybody's doing their own thing, but you all want everybody to succeed. It's unique in that way, you know.
So with
good
all the
stuff.
little branches of Comedy Sock, what is there? Do you want to explain?
Yeah, what is there? So we have four main branches. So we've got stand-up, we've got improv, we've got sketch acting, and sketch writing. So yeah, those are our 4 weekly workshops, and you can find details of that on the Instagram and stuff. It's everywhere.
It's really like, it's good that there's so many little aspects of it.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of like, you'll probably get people from like drama, I imagine.
Yeah, we do
who wanna
actually.
go
Yeah,
into that.
yeah, we do. We've seen a lot more of that this year. A
Yeah.
lot more sort of interdisciplinary stuff, and it's good as well because a lot of other like uni comedy societies, those things are split. Like they have a stand-up one and an improv one, whereas we just it gets people to mix in and try different things, which is great.
That is really fun. That's really fun. So when do you want to do a little plug of when those things are?
I can do a little plug. So all the workshops and stuff.
So I mean, what have you've got like workshop on Monday?
Yeah, so stand up is on Monday. I'm not gonna say like the rooms and the times. That's
no.
That's
We'll
too
find
much.
that. It'll be on Comedy Sock Instagram.
Yeah, it'll be on the Instagram. Stand up's on Monday. Sketch acting is on Tuesday. Writers is on Saturday, and open improv is on Sunday.
Amazing.
Yes,
There's a lot on there.
Yeah, and big things we've got coming up this week. We've got week 6 stand-up show on Wednesday.
Slay.
I don't know if this will be up then. But we've got that then, so that'll be good.
You do have quite regular shows.
Yeah,
though.
we do. We have a show. We have shows every week,
Yeah.
every Wednesday evening in
cool.
VN045. And on the 27th of February, that's when Chortle is, which will be a great,
That'll be exciting.
great big deal. That's in Courtyard at like the
cool.
top. On,
Well,
like, the
if this
top
is out before then,
floor bit.
I don't
Yes.
know if it will be. If it is,
Please go.
Head on over to Chortle.
It will be great.
you will chortle.
You will Chortle.
Confirmed.
Guaranteed.
Well, anyway, it's
There we
been
go.
amazing to have you on, Freddie.
been
Thank
great
you for all
talking to
your
you.
insights. It's been
Oh,
great.
thank you. It's been lovely.
Yeah, this has been We Are Society.